The music business landscape has changed significantly over the past few decades. The period has proven to be a very tricky path for those involved in the industry, including band members, engineers and producers. Joining me now to share some of these dynamics is Thando Makhunga. She's the Managing Director at Sheer Publishing. Thando, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. So in a world where the music industry is evolving, what key shifts have you observed that significantly impact especially the monetization opportunities for artists in the industry?
Yeah, I think, thank you first of all for having me, but I think one of the most important things is the democratization of the music industry, which means that artists are able to take control of the music that they could create, but that also means that you now need to do a lot more as an artist. You can't just sign a contract with a record label and they will take care of distribution and marketing and, you know, all of those types of things. So in the democratization of the industry, I think, unfortunately, one of the things, if you compare the type of revenue that was being generated in my era, which was buying physical CDs and cassettes, as opposed to the types of revenue being generated now in the digital streaming era, it's really chalk and cheese. So it does require an artist to be very multifaceted, to have a marketing plan, to have an idea of, you know, their genre of music they create and which audience is going to consume that music. So it does require a lot more work. So really important for independent creators to be surrounded with professionals in order for them to create successful careers.
Let's add another element to this evolution of the industry, and also with the globalization of music through online streaming platforms. What strategies do you believe are crucial for artists to really expand their international reach? Because their music transcends beyond our borders.
Correct. You know, there are a lot of ways to do it. I think one of the most simplest ones is to start to collaborate in different markets. A great example of that, and I know like the Puritans would always had an issue around Nigerian artists, Afrobeat artists doing collaborations with the likes of pop artists like Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez, but that was deliberate in order for that market to start consuming African music, which is exactly what resulted from that. Additionally, I think the other thing is there are different ways in which you can start to collaborate with other creators in different markets. So that is through songwriting, you know, sharing your samples, producing for other artists, if you obviously have the skill set. But it is possible to grow your market now, I think more so than ever, you know, in other markets outside of your sort of home territory.
With that said, please elaborate on the importance of really understanding copyrights law and also publishing rights for artists, especially in the context of digital platforms as well. Correct.
I mean, I think the most important thing is for artists to understand that the music that they create, the songs that they make, the melodies, the beats, it's all intellectual property, and any property is an asset, right? It's something that needs to be protected. It can be monetized just like any other asset like property. So it is important for them, again, and I'll come back to publishing, where it's important for us as your publisher to make sure that, number one, we protect your copyright for you. We make sure that you're correctly remunerated through your royalties in whichever platform your music is consumed, and we also account to you as an artist. So understanding that is important, but really partnering with, you know, professionals in the field is probably the most important decision a creator can make.
I want to speak more about the work that Sheer does, and speak to us a bit more about the partnership between Sheer Publishing Africa and the Academy of Sound Engineering. How is this partnership addressing the knowledge gap in the industry?
One of the things that we realized in working with Academy of Sound is that while at an academic level, at a student level, students are prepared for the concepts, you know, of music, including things like copyright, the music business in the industry. But the reality of it is once you get into the outside world, there's so many opportunities that they're not exposed to because they get trained, you know, very classically. So we wanted to partner with Academy of Sound to create masterclasses and workshops which would bring in professionals into the space, you know, create those networking opportunities as well, open their eyes in terms of the opportunities that are available. It's not just about being on stage. It's not just about being a producer, a commercial producer. There's so many opportunities in the music industry. And also for us to start, you know, building a creator class that's a little bit more informed, that makes better decisions because now they've seen what it looks like in the real world.
But Thando, I guess it also begs the question then that what are the practical insights that are offered through this program?
I mean, one of the ones that we're working on at the moment, one of the workshops that we're working on at the moment is things like producer techniques, songwriting techniques. It is about inspiration and it is about creativity, but there are ways in which you can write a hit song. There are ways in which you can learn from people that have done it successfully in terms of marketing that hit song. You know, so it really is very much a real-world practical experience for the students.
We spoke about the transition from physical media to digital platforms. What are the main challenges that artists often face, especially in ensuring a fair compensation from this?
I mean, the reality of it, as I said, is digital streaming platforms don't pay as much just because of the dearth of music that's available. The value of music has unfortunately deteriorated over time. So it is important for us to inform creators that there are other ways in which you can monetize your money. One of the main ones that we focus on is licensing and sync, which is things like finding the use of your music in places like TV, film, advertising, radio, and that is one of the things that publishers do, is to make sure that we're finding placement for you. I mean, I'm just going to share a quick analogy. I was watching a video from a producer from the 90s called Just Blaze, who produced for Nas and Jay-Z, and he was saying he made more money creating music for video games than he did for any of those songs, right? And because he had a skill that he was able to use and monetize that skill in a different platform. So that is basically one of the things that we try to get creators to understand, particularly when they're very young, is that there's a world of opportunity. You don't have to limit yourself to just being one thing. Of course you can do that, but there's that and more.
I quite like the example that you use about Just Blaze. Well, also because he's one of my favorite producers. But speaking about that, I want us to crystallize that point. The emergence of this new revenue stream, such as merchandise sales and sync licensing. How can artists actually leverage these opportunities to really diversify their income?
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example of that local example is Casper Newvest. And we all know he created the Fill Up series. And yes, it was a physical event. But over and above that, he now has created a database of fans, which he can directly market to because that was his event. And that includes directly marketing things like his drinks brands, his clothing line. I'm not sure if he has a clothing line. I feel like he does everything. But that kind of thing is, and again, it does require the artist to have a bit of a marketing brain. So yes, it's the art and the creativity and the songwriting and all of that is important, but also how do you connect to artists in more tangible ways, in more physical ways. Yeah.
You're quite right. And also in the age of social media and direct-to-fan engagement, I want to speak about the advice that you'd like to offer to artists who are really seeking to build and sustain a loyal fan base, but also while maintaining artistic integrity.
I think the most authentic thing that an artist can do is to engage consistently with their fans. And social media is a great way to do this. So whether you are, you have a newsletter, or whether you do, day in the life of vlogs, whatever way in which people can access you as a real and authentic person, that is the way in which you can start to build that connection. And hopefully those fans can grow with you over time, in whichever, creative avenue you decide to pursue.
So Thando, as a parting shot, and also considering the multifaceted nature of the modern artist, how important is it for them to really develop skills beyond performance, such as production and branding, to really thrive in this ever-evolving industry?
Yeah. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because ultimately if artists were paid correctly, they wouldn't have to be these multi-talented individuals. But at the same time, if you look at it as an opportunity, I think don't limit yourself. That would be my parting shot. Don't limit yourself. If you're able to write a song, a hit song for an amapiano song, you could also write a great radio jingle for a brand. You could also write an opening theme for a TV show. So there are so many opportunities in the music industry. It's just for artists to be open-minded, and obviously they're going to have to put in a lot of work.
Thando, I've certainly learned a lot from this conversation. Thank you for your time. That's Thando Makhunga. She's the Managing Director for Share Publishing, helping us really understand the intricate dynamics of the music industry, also offering some helpful advice as to artists who are established but also emerging as well.